So I don't know what happened to the front part of this video, but I cannot find it. So I'm just going to give you a quick update as to what was going on. I cleaned out my freezer because I have a freezer in the garage, and the top shelf was completely frosted over, and was getting to the point where the door might not be closing completely shut. So I defrosted the freezer. I had a 10-pound bag of chicken wings in there. They had some frost on them, but they were still good. So I threw them all in the crock pot, a little bit of chicken, like granule chicken stock, and I cooked them in the stock pot for, I think, 6 hours on high, or 4 hours on high. Anyway, then I let them cool down overnight, and then the next day I warmed it up just a little bit to get the broth back to a liquid, since it had gelled up, and I separated everything in there into these separate containers. So I believe that's about where this video picks up.
This is the crock pot, the inner pot of the crock pot. That is the broth that is left. Here's a bowl of the smolts, the fat, the chicken fat that I scraped off the top earlier when I took it out of the refrigerator. I did put it in the microwave to melt it. And then this is a bowl of just chicken skins that I just peeled off all of the flats and drumettes of the chicken wings that I cooked. Here is the vegetables that came out of there, the chicken pieces, and the bones. So what am I going to do with all of this now? I'm actually going to dump the bones back into the crock pot. I just turned the stove back on high. I'm going to heat this back up. I'm going to come over here and grab the lid to the crock pot. That's one thing I like about this crock pot is my insert is metal. So I can pull it out and use it on the stove. So I currently have this on high, but once it does get heated back up, then I will turn it down and I will continue. I'll turn it down to a simmer and I will continue to let it cook for some bone broth. Okay. So what am I going to do with the smolts and the chicken skin? I'm going to put both of these in another small pot here on my stove, and I'm just going to cook those skins down until I get as much fat out of it, and then I will put it in a jar and put it in the refrigerator. Sometimes when you're cooking and you need a little fat, sometimes I use beef tallow, sometimes I use bacon drippings, sometimes I use just plain lard. I'm going to try a little bit of using a little bit of chicken fat. I know it's not the most popular, but hey, let's give it a try. And with the chicken pieces, I have some shredded cheese in there that needs to get used, so I'm going to make chicken enchiladas. But that is for another time. So I'm going to get the fat in the pot on the stove, the vegetables. I'm just going to put them in the refrigerator, and I will actually just munch on them.
So apparently this video ended abruptly, as well as not getting the beginning. So quick update on everything. I did simmer the bone broth on the stove for about 8 hours. After the video, I did add probably about 3 to 4 cups of water and put the lid on there loosely and let it simmer for a good 8 hours. and then I filtered the bones back out, and I actually put the broth in ice cube trays and froze it. And so now I have several bags of frozen chicken bone broth in the freezer for next time I need stock or chicken broth for a recipe. The chicken fat or schmaltz, whatever term you want to use, I did let those chicken skins cook down with that fat. I understand I didn't have to put the fat back in there, but I figured it would help cook render the additional fat out of those chicken skins a little bit better. And so once that was all done, I filtered that, put the chicken fat in like a half pint or jelly mason jar, and it's in the refrigerator ready for whenever I want to use it to cook something. And actually, I ate the crispy chicken skins, and they tasted pretty good. Not as good as I was hoping, but they did taste pretty good. They would have been good crumbled on top of something else, some kind of pasta or something. But they did taste pretty good. And I did make the chicken enchiladas. They were so good. I had a jar of salsa verde in my cabinet, and so I made like a salsa verde green chicken enchiladas, and they were so good. I just wanted to jump on here one last time to give a couple more little updates. I realized that after the second boiling of the bones with the broth to make the bone broth, I never explained what happened to the bones after I filtered them out. So part of the purpose of this video was a no waste. And I do plan on using those bones in the summer or in the spring. I will take them, dehydrate them, and grind them down into bone meal for the garden. So currently I have them back in the freezer. I am mixing chicken bones with ham bones because they are softer bones, and I will take those bones and grind them down to bone meal. This may have seemed like a tedious task just for a bunch of frozen chicken wings. Why not just roast them and eat them like traditional chicken wings? But I do want to show people and encourage people to think outside the box and think of different preparations that you can use or you can do with the foods in your freezer. I never used a recipe for any of it. I was just winging it all. Some of it, of course, previous experience. But like the chicken enchiladas, I kind of loosely went off a chicken enchilada recipe that I've used in the past, but I didn't even review that recipe to make those chicken enchiladas. I just threw stuff together for a filling and then filled the tortillas and topped it with cheese, and they were delicious. So it's also an encouragement to not be afraid to think out of the box and play, experiment. That's the way to learn, is by doing. And it's not always going to be a success, but you can't learn by achieving 100% success all the time. All right. So those were just a couple other things I wanted to touch on, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.